Welcome back to Mahogany Squeeze. I want to apologize to you guys about it having to be two parts to this story concerning my son. This video has been quite hard to make, honestly. I have tried to make it a few times, and I got over emotional, more emotional than what I thought I would, and was crying when I was saying certain parts. I don't want to be in this video crying and emotional, especially since it makes me look ugly anyway. I just wanted to be able to come and tell the story and have self-control. So I had to delete it a few times because of that. And then my phone started telling me I didn't have it. Well, it just stopped recording altogether. And I didn't even know it had stopped recording. Then as I kept trying to redo it, it kept interrupting me saying I didn't have enough space. So I had to wait till other video uploaded before I could delete those from out of my storage and then have room to make this one. So here, let me hurry up and try and get through this, because at this point, I don't know, I'm just getting kind of irritated and frustrated, and plus I'm tired. I've been up since 6 a.m. this morning. Well, me and my son, we was up actually before then, but we went to the park to go work out and stuff like that. It's just been a lot. I'm tired. But so let me get to it. I ended off on a part of stating why I think I had the reaction that I did is because I think that subconsciously a part of me knew when I woke up that morning that he was already deceased and that there was no bringing him back. And I think part of me was in denial about it, which is why I went to something I was familiar with doing, which was picking my baby up, holding him, rocking him, kissing him, and while he would sleep, he would make like this smile and give this smirk, like in his sleep or whatever, and I love that. So that morning when I had picked him up, I was rocking and kissing him, I remember thinking in my mind in that moment, like, smile for me, just smile, I want to see your smile, give me your smirk. So later, looking back and assessing my response to it, I think that was just the only way I mentally and emotionally could cope. That was my coping mechanism. And I don't know. That's just how I've just kind of broke down the psychology behind my behavior. And I think, as they say, men are more logical than women. So I think his father's reaction was one of being in the moment and dealing with the reality of the situation, which was, no, there's a problem that we need to attend to. Let me get on a phone call EMS, administer CPR, and stuff like that. So people respond differently when they're faced with different type of traumas and situations. And I think that that's why I might have dealt with mine the way that I did. But going past that, during my pregnancy, I did not have any complications. That was my first pregnancy and first birth and delivery. Now, the labor part was complicated. There were complications because once I got up to that part, like I said, I didn't like really experience morning sickness or anything like that. I was still on the go doing my thing. For a large part of it, like, I still was wearing heels. Like, I was still able to do everything. I was still me. It wasn't until I got into like the end of my second trimester, beginning of my first trimester, where the only issue that I had was, right, I was tired then. So I wasn't in no more heels anymore. I was in loose clothing, maternity clothes, stuff like that. Well, they actually weren't maternity clothes, but I was in loose fitted stuff, comfortable stuff. And he used to be wearing this nerve out on my back or whatever. He stayed on a certain side. So my back started bothering me. But that was it. It was just minor stuff. On the morning that I went into labor, I actually was going through the contractions in my sleep during the night. And I woke up maybe at about like 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 2 contractions, and went to the hospital. They was like 3 minutes apart by the time we got to the hospital. And I just began going through cold sweats, and I was like throwing up, vomiting, non-stop. And I remember as that was happening, I'm asking the doctor, I'm like, is this, I mean, not the doctor, the nurse, I'm like, is this normal? And she was looking at me like I was crazy. And she was like, no, this actually ain't normal, but every woman's body's going to respond to labor and delivery differently. So she didn't think it was anything to really stress about. Well, they got that under control, but when I went to go and give birth, I could not push him out. And I think that was probably due to the epidural. I think like it just had me, like I didn't have the strength. Like I was trying to push with all my might, and the baby was not budging. Like he was not moving at all. So the doctor, I remember her telling me like, look, push, push, you gotta push. He's going into distress. His heart rate keeps dropping and stuff like that. Um, and me telling her like, I'm trying my best. I'm trying. It's not working. I don't know why he's not moving, getting out. And she was like, well, we need to have a C-section if you can't push him out. And I'm like, we'll do it here. Let's do the C-section. Oh, and y'all, that was horrific. Terrible, 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 yo. So I go from feeling like I don't have enough strength in me, my muscles are too weak for me to be able to push this baby out, to laying on the operating table because they had taken me to an operating room at that point. And the doctors began doing the incision on my stomach, and I felt every bit of it. Like, I started screaming. And then I just remember the doctor saying, like, how much did you give her? And the nurse on this side was like 20 cc's. Next thing I remember, I was waking up back in the delivery room, and my precious baby boy was at the foot of my bed in a bassinet. And I remember trying to like scoot because I was like, so I was trying to scoot down there to get him, to pick him up. You know, I've been waiting 9 months to meet him. And technically, I've been waiting years to meet him because every girl, around the age of 4 or 5, you playing with baby dolls and you thinking, one day I'm going to have an actual baby. So I have been waiting to meet this baby for the longest. I'm like, nurse, chill out. So she like, no, just sit back, and I will go ahead, pick him up for you and bring him to you. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I understand because, you know, I have been given epidurals. Then I was given something for this cesarean and then given more drugs to wake me up. Like, okay, you're right. I am drowsy. Like, I literally was trying to scoot down to the bed. So she made the right call. So I said, I got my baby. It's the best thing in my life. But I later was thinking, like, okay, I wonder if the throwing up and cold sweats has something to do with whatever was causing him distress, and causing his heart rate to drop. And I'm wondering if his heart rate dropping had anything to do with him suffering from the SIDS 2 months later. But this is the thing, though. I never got an answer to that. They never told me why he was going into distress, why his heart rate was dropping. So I really don't know. But after I had him, everything seemed fine. Once again, like I said, pregnancy was fine, had that hiccup at delivery, and then after he was born, everything was fine for those 2 months. He was progressing as he should have. He was 6 pounds 15 ounces. So he was 1 pound shy of 7 pounds. I mean 1 ounce shy of 7 pounds. Everything was fine. I don't know what the cause of that was, but sudden infant death, which is what they said happened with him, is where when a baby is inside your stomach, you are doing all their breathing, you are doing all their eating. The umbilical cord that connects to their belly is what feeds them all the nutrition that they need directly in through there. So when they come out the womb, yes, I believe that it's like data already downloaded to signal for babies to start breathing on its own and swallowing, drinking. But as automatic as it comes, it's still something that has to be worked at and practice for a baby's. And sudden infant death is where when it's time for them to go into like the deeper sleep, which I believe is REM sleep, our body shuts down and certain parts of our mind shut down when we go to sleep. Sleeping for us, for our bodies, for our mind, is like a charger. It's like you use a charger to charge your phone to reboot it, get it full. Well, that's what sleep does for the human body. So parts of our brains, though, and parts of our bodies have to stay on and continue to function while other parts shut down or go down to a bare minimum. Well, they shut down most of the motor functions. Our mind shuts down most of our physical motor functions and muscles and organs, so we don't end up sleepwalking, acting out our dreams, acting out our nightmares, stuff like that. But it has to stay on to a degree, because as we go into that deep sleep, our body has to go into autopilot, where our mind sends a signal like, hey, okay, heart keep beating, lungs keep breathing, mouth keeps swallowing. Well, for a baby, that could be difficult, and that's what they say sudden infant death is, where the baby either, whether it's through suffocation, through not swallowing, basically like a drowning, or through suffocation, like their lungs stop, they stop breathing, going in and out, or a combination of the both. That's what happens. And the crazy thing about that is, after the fact, I had to research about sudden infant death. And they were saying how in certain countries, the mothers always, what they call co-sleep during the time where sudden infant death is most likely to happen, which is in the first 2 years. And they have a very low rate for sudden infant death because of the co-sleeping. What happens is the baby syncs with your breathing and heart rate and stuff, since they are right next to you, touching you. And that's what keeps them into autopilot of breathing in and out and stuff like that. Well, one of the problems though that they do have, where it lowers that rate of sudden infant death, but sometimes there are a few cases where the mother ends up smothering the child, like getting into a deep sleep, rolling over on the child and stuff like that. So I was actually co-sleeping with my son. I had him in the bed with me and his father. It literally was like a week prior to this happening that his father had told me, like, no, he cannot sleep in the bed with us anymore. You have to put him in his own bassinet. And his reason was for those reasons, smothering and possibly dropping the baby. Like, he felt that it was dangerous. Like, one day, me and the baby, and I'm so glad I listened to him though, because I'm so glad I did not fight him on this, because part of me did feel he was overreacting. But it was one day, okay, me and the baby, we sleeping, we laying down, and I hold the baby normally in this arm like this, and the baby was kind of like a little sunken down in the bed, we on the pillows and stuff, and he just felt like, no, that's too close for comfort. He didn't feel that it was safe, and he was like, no, anything can happen, from the pillow ending up over the baby's face, the baby ending up under my armpit, or on the side of my breast, anything, the blanket, or dropping him, so he was like, no, you can't have him in a bed anymore. And I'm so glad that I did not fight him on that, and that I listened. So literally a week prior, I had stopped sleeping, putting the baby in our bed, and started putting the baby in his own bed. And best decision, because I had already blamed myself, I blamed his father, and I blamed God. Like, I was just mad at all three of us and everybody in the world, because when tragedies and things happen to you, you always are looking for a reason why, and something or someone to blame for it. So I was just like, I'm blaming all of us. So, but it was just horrible. But I'm so glad that he did that, because guess what? If that baby was destined, God knows what he was doing. That baby was destined. It was in the cards that baby was going to pass. And I'm so glad it wasn't in our bed, because if it wasn't our bed, his father was going to really blame me. Like, I thought I felt guilty before. Just think of the immense amount of guilt I would have felt then if that was the case. Especially, like, we wouldn't have thought just sudden infant death. It would have automatically been no, you had to end up smothering the baby in some type of way. So, and his dad would have hated me for that and really blamed me. Who knows? He might have still felt I still was part to blame anyway. He never expressed that or said that, but I don't know. But anyway, so I thank God that he decided to do that, and that I listened to him, like, okay, baby, if he gotta sleep in his bassinet, fine, he can sleep in there, because I love my baby. So these were just the things I wanted to share with you guys about this experience. I'm not going to go any further with it. Like, that's the gist of what happened. Because at first, you know what, in those previous videos of me trying to do this, where I was boo-booing and crying at certain parts that I've already talked to you guys about, but it was also other parts that, like, what all transpired after us and how distraught I was, what a bad negative place I was in, because I literally did not want to live, like, and I had just went off the rails. Because, like, I remember when we had gotten back from the hospital, it was like I went from, I feel like my son was taken from me, because I went from having a C-section, him having to be cut out of me not being able to give birth to him, but then him passing away. And then when we came home, which I know his family had all the best intentions, and it might have also been the best thing for him, but they had removed all of the baby stuff. Like, there was no evidence when we got there that a baby was just living here that morning. You know, so that was crazy. See, that was a mind fuck for me. For me, that was the worst thing that could have been done. That's what triggered me. Not seeing the baby stuff. It was not seeing the baby stuff that triggered me, because I just remember constantly just thinking, like, this has to be a dream. Did I dream having a baby? Or am I in a nightmare dreaming now that I don't have one? You know, because I even remember... I remember getting in the shower, and I remember I was looking at my body like, you know, like the cesarean cut and everything, and I'm like, no, my body is telling me that there's evidence. Like, no, you're not crazy. You had a baby. Yes, there was a baby here. You have a baby. He was here. But it all just was wiped away. It was gone, and it was very hard. Real tragedy. My baby would have been 13 years old now. 13. And I just be thinking all the time, like, oh, I wish he was here. I want to know who he would be right now. Like, I want to know him. I want to experience him. I want to raise him. I want to love on him and stuff like that. But I mean, God is in control. Everything's in God's timing, and he one of the ways that I cope now is knowing he's in a better place. He'll never have to experience the mess that's here in the world, the evilness of this world. He'll never have to experience tragedy himself. And one day, I will be able to be with him again. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you guys for watching the video.